Welcome to Hong Kong Brief. The content of the briefing includes: big hedge funds pay silly money, says founder of Europe's largest manager. Standard Chartered to continue investing in China amid economic recovery. Hong Kong Open, read looking for strong finish to year that looked nice on paper. Hong Kong regulator urges investors towards new asset allocation strategies. China property rescue? Who are Ping an insurance group and Country Garden? Big hedge funds pay silly money, says founder of Europe's largest manager. Financial Times. Multi-manager hedge funds are offering portfolio managers silly amounts of money in a merry-go-round of recruitment, said Sir Paul Marshall, co-founder of Marshall Wass, Europe's largest hedge fund. The dominance of firms such as Citadel, Millennium Management and Point72 Asset Management has driven a ferocious bidding war for talent, Marshall said at a conference in Hong Kong. The competition for staff has forced traditional hedge fund firms to adapt, with Marshall Wass adding a compensation surcharge to its Eureka hedge fund. The pass-through model used by multi-manager funds allows managers to pass on costs to investors. Standard Chartered to continue investing in China amid economic recovery. South China Morning Post. Standard Chartered is confident about China's economic prospects and plans to increase its investment in the country. The bank's CEO in China, Jerry Zhang, said that third-quarter economic data indicated that business and commercial activities in China were strengthening. This comes after the International Monetary Fund revised upwards its forecast for China's GDP in 2023. Standard Chartered recently reported worse-than-expected earnings due to high impairment charges related to exposure to China's property sector. It plans to spend an additional $300 million by 2024 to reinforce its mainland businesses. Hong Kong Open, read looking for strong finish to year that looked nice on paper. South China Morning Post. Patrick Reed plans to work on his consistency during the off-season after a season that did not yield any trophies. The American golfer finished sixth in the LIV Golf League's individual rankings, with two disappointing results in Chicago and Jeddah. Reed aims to end the year on a high note at the Hong Kong Open and the final stop of the Asian Tour's International Series in Indonesia. He believes that having the belief that he can win is the most important thing and hopes to start strong in Hong Kong to build momentum for the next season. Hong Kong regulator urges investors towards new asset allocation strategies. South China Morning Post. The CEO of Hong Kong's securities regulator, Julia Liang Fengyi, has said that the investment community can turn the current challenges of elevated interest rates and geopolitical tensions into opportunities if new asset allocation strategies are adopted. Speaking at a summit co-hosted by the Securities and Futures Commission and Hong Kong Monetary Authority, Liang said that the industry should learn the art of risk-taking and apply Chinese wisdom to navigate the complex global financial markets. China property rescue? Who are Ping an insurance group and Country Garden? Reuters. Chinese authorities have reportedly asked Ping an insurance group to take a controlling stake in Country Garden, the nation's largest private property developer, as part of a state-engineered rescue of the embattled company. Ping an is one of China's largest insurers, with total assets of $1.58 trillion and over 229 million retail customers. The move would be one of the most significant interventions to date by China to support its cash-squeezed, highly indebted property sector, which accounts for 1/4 of economic activity. Former Man United star Gary Neville pitches branded flats to Hong Kongers. South China Morning Post. Gary Neville, the former Manchester United star and co-founder of Relentless Developments, is selling 213 flats in a 41-story tower in Manchester to Hong Kongers. The W Residences development, part of a mixed-use project called the St. Michael's, will feature the first branded residences and 5-star hotel in the northwest English city. The flats are being marketed in Hong Kong at a starting price of £341,000, $473,000, for a studio. The project is scheduled to open in Q1 2027. Hong Kong's flagship banking summit largely muted on China market. Nikkei Asia. Executives at the Global Financial Leaders Investment Summit in Hong Kong were cautious about the outlook for the Chinese market in the short term, citing concerns about the property sector and local government debt. However, they were more positive about the longer-term prospects for China, with BlackRock's Mark Wiedman saying it was the second largest capital market in the world and long-term it has to be part of the global investors' portfolio. Wiedman also highlighted the need for China to diversify people's retirement savings away from real estate and deposits towards capital markets. Ping An exited its Country Garden stake, has no takeover plan. Bloomberg. Ping An Insurance has sold all its shares in Country Garden Holdings and has no plans to acquire the distressed developer, according to people with knowledge of the matter. The Chinese insurer offloaded the stake in Q3, said the unnamed sources. Country Garden recently defaulted on a dollar bond for the first time. Colorifix to bring earth-friendly fabric dyeing ink to China, ASEAN by 2025. South China Morning Post. UK biotech startup Colorifix plans to bring its sustainable fabric dyeing solution to China and Southeast Asia in 2025. The company uses DNA sequences from nature and microorganisms to create pigments that can be fixed onto fabrics, reducing water and chemical usage. Colorifix aims to dye 15% of the world's clothes by 2030 and has developed hundreds of colors, with 14 available for use on customer sites. The firm will begin its expansion into Asian markets in H1 2023, starting with India and Sri Lanka. Morning bid, oil-fueled rally turns to Powell. Reuters. Wall Street's winning streak of 7 straight daily gains has been accompanied by a drop in crude oil prices, leading to concerns about inflation expectations and bond yields. U.S. crude prices have fallen over 15% in less than 3 weeks, causing U.S. pump prices to reach their lowest level since March. This decline in energy prices, combined with other factors such as credit card delinquencies and a cooling labor market, has pushed 2-year U.S. inflation expectations in the bond market to their lowest level in almost a month. Ping An loses $2.1 billion in market value, China property rallies on Country Garden rescue report. Reuters. Shares in Ping An Insurance Group fell to a 1-year low on Wednesday following reports that the Chinese authorities had asked the company to take a controlling stake in troubled developer Country Garden. The news sent shares in Country Garden, which has significant levels of debt, up more than 12%, while shares in developers China Evergrande and Sunac China Holdings jumped by around 30%. Morning update, Federal Chief Technology Officer lied about ArriveCan app, MPs here. The Globe and Mail. Cameron McDonald, the former Director General at the Canada Border Services Agency, has alleged that the federal government's Chief Technology Officer, Min Doan, lied when testifying about the selection process for the company that built the ArriveCan app. The app was designed to track international travelers during the pandemic, yet its cost rose to over $54 million. McDonald told MPs that he had been involved in heated discussions with Doan in October 2022, during which he felt threatened. He further claimed that Doan had told him that Marco Mendicino, then public safety minister, was unhappy with stories about ArriveCan and wanted someone's head on a platter. The Government Operations Committee is currently holding hearings into the app's rising costs. Rupee ends little changed ahead of Fed Chair Powell's speech. Reuters. The Indian rupee closed largely unchanged on Wednesday as demand for the U.S. dollar from local buyers was offset by a decline in crude oil prices and U.S. Treasury yields. The rupee ended at 83.2725 against the U.S. dollar, compared to its previous close of 83.2575. The currency has remained range-bound between 83.14 and 83.2950 so far in November. Meanwhile, the dollar index rose to 105.84 but remains below the previous week's peak of above 107. The 10-year U.S. Treasury yield was little changed in Asia after falling 9 basis points on Tuesday. U.S. refused to help Joshua Wong flee Hong Kong, sources say. Nikkei Asia. Former U.S. President Donald Trump's administration refused to help Hong Kong democracy activist Joshua Wong leave the city before the enactment of China's national security law, resulting in his imprisonment. Despite Washington's vocal support for Hong Kongers' fight for democracy, the U.S. State Department denied Wong's request to enter its consulate, where he hoped to seek refuge. The decision was based on American national security interests, according to a person familiar with the matter. The U.S. has yet to allow a path toward permanent residency for Hong Kongers and has only offered temporary, deferred enforced departure status to those who were already in the country before January 26 this year. Anuja Verghese short story collection Chrysalis among $25,000 Governor General's Literary Award winners. CBC. Anuja Verghese, a writer from Hamilton, has won the Governor General's Literary Award for Fiction for her short story collection Chrysalis. The collection focuses on South Asian women and explores themes of power, sexuality, family, and cultural norms. Verghese hopes that her work will provide representation for marginalized groups such as brown and queer women. Other winners of the Governor General's Literary Awards include Kyo MacLear for her nonfiction memoir Unearthing, Hannah Green for her poetry collection Xanax Cowboy, Cliff Cardinal for his play William Shakespeare's As You Like It, a radical retelling, Sarah Everett for her young adult novel The Probability of Everything, Jack Wong for his illustrated book When You Can Swim, and Eric Dupont and translator Peter McCambridge for their French to English translation of Rose's very own personal revolution. The Governor General's Literary Awards are administered by the Canada Council for the Arts and aim to recognize the best books published in Canada each year. The winners in each category receive $25,000, while the finalists receive $1,000. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Dr. Six from the 6 Degrees World, here to bring you the latest news and analysis. Today, we have a mix of stories from the world of finance, sports, real estate, and more. So let's dive in. First up, we have Sir Paul Marshall, the co-founder of Marshall Wass, Europe's largest hedge fund, calling out the big hedge funds for paying silly amounts of money to portfolio managers in a never-ending recruitment battle. It seems like these firms are caught in a merry-go-round of bidding wars, with Citadel, Millennium Management, and Point72 Asset Management leading the pack. It's a wild ride, but it's certainly driving up the compensation for talented managers. Moving on, we have Standard Chartered expressing confidence in China's economic recovery and announcing plans to increase its investment in the country. This comes after the International Monetary Fund revised its GDP forecast for China in 2023. Despite reporting worse-than-expected earnings due to exposure to China's property sector, Standard Chartered is doubling down on its mainland businesses with an additional $300 million investment. In the world of sports, American golfer Patrick Reed is looking to end the year on a high note after a season that didn't bring him any trophies. He believes that having the belief that he can win is crucial and hopes to start strong in the Hong Kong Open to build momentum for the next season. Good luck, Patrick. Meanwhile, the CEO of Hong Kong's securities regulator, Julia Liang Fengyi, is urging investors to adopt new asset allocation strategies in the face of challenges like elevated interest rates and geopolitical tensions. She believes that these challenges can be turned into opportunities if the industry learns the art of risk-taking and applies Chinese wisdom to navigate the complex global financial markets. Wise words, Julia. In China, the authorities are reportedly looking to Ping An Insurance Group to take a controlling stake in Country Garden, the nation's largest private property developer, as part of a state-engineered rescue. Ping An is one of China's largest insurers, and this move would be a significant intervention to support the highly indebted property sector, which accounts for a quarter of economic activity. It's a big ask, but Ping An might just be up for the challenge. Shifting gears, former Manchester United star Gary Neville is making waves in the real estate market by selling branded flats in a tower in Manchester to Hong Kongers. The W Residences development is part of a mixed-use project called the St. Michael's and will feature the first branded residences and five-star hotel in the city. It's a unique opportunity for Hong Kongers to own a piece of Manchester, and I'm sure the demand will be sky-high. Moving to the Global Financial Leaders Investment Summit in Hong Kong, executives were cautious about the short-term outlook for the Chinese market, citing concerns about the property sector and local government debt. However, they were more optimistic about the long-term prospects and emphasized the need for China to diversify people's retirement savings away from real estate and deposits towards capital markets. It's a balancing act, but one that could pay off in the long run. In other news, UK biotech startup Colorifix plans to bring its sustainable fabric dyeing solution to China and Southeast Asia in 2025. The company uses DNA sequences from nature and microorganisms to create pigments that can be fixed onto fabrics, reducing water and chemical usage. They aim to dye 15% of the world's clothes by 2030, and their expansion into Asian markets is a step in the right direction. Now, let's talk about the markets. Wall Street's winning streak has been accompanied by a drop in crude oil prices, causing concerns about inflation expectations and bond yields. This decline in energy prices, combined with other factors, has pushed two-year U.S. inflation expectations in the bond market to their lowest level in almost a month. It's something to keep an eye on as we head into the end of the year. And finally, we have some interesting developments in Canada. The federal government's chief technology officer is facing allegations that she lied about the selection process for the company that built the ArriveCan app, which was designed to track international travelers during the pandemic. The rising costs of the app have raised eyebrows, and the Government Operations Committee is currently holding hearings to get to the bottom of it. That's all for today's news and analysis. It's been quite a ride, from hedge funds bidding wars to golfers seeking redemption, and real estate ventures in Manchester. But remember, these stories are just a snapshot of the world we live in. So, what are your thoughts on these topics? Do you have any burning questions or insights to share? I'm all ears. Let's keep the conversation going and explore the fascinating world of news together. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.